I would like to thanks to the JB Nagar Study Circle for this opportunity given to me to discuss the latest amendment with the chartered accountants in the Mumbai. So as I can see, there are the more than 250 members are there. So it is always my pleasure to have a session with the JB Nagar Study Circle. I would like to say thanks to the Krishna Kumarji for inviting me for this webinar. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
So as Atul sir has said, yes, there are a lot of amendment under Companies Act. Because as we know, as a professional, as a company secretary, as a chartered accountant, on the regular basis, we are seeing the amendment under Companies Act. If I will just talk about the month of March, in last month there was a 9 notification of the amendment. Some was related to the amendment in notification. So through this amendment, they are changing the Companies Act on the regular basis. But one thing which we all should focus regarding this amendment, by this amendment under Companies Act, Ministry are imposing the responsibilities on the chartered accountant. They are increasing their responsibility day by day. As you must have seen in 1956 Act, in the auditor report, auditors have to disclose about the compliance of the company law, but there was nowhere mention about the specific section on which an auditor have to report. Then Companies Act 2013 came into picture, and they have changed the disclosures on the auditor report, and they have increased some disclosures and added some sections on which specifically auditor have to report. Then last year we know new CARO has been introduced, which is going to impact from the next year. In the new CARO, they have drastically changed and increased the responsibility of the auditor. They have mentioned so many sections on which specifically auditor have to report, like section 197. Auditors specifically have to report whether company has followed the section 197 for payment of remuneration. They have added section 185. Auditor have to report whether company has properly compliance with section 185 in respect of loan to director and the entities in which director are interested. So by adding the section, by adding the day-by-day responsibility, Ministry are impacting and they are doing they are imposing lot of responsibilities on the auditors. So as I can see that almost 300 chartered accountants are there in this webinar. I will request all of you, whatever queries you are having regarding the topic which we are going to discuss, please feel free to write your query in the chat box on the query section, so that at the end of the webinar or simultaneously with the topic, we will take up those queries and we will try to resolve all the queries of the members. Someone has mentioned, can you please highlight in brief which are the amendments done by private companies? CSR catering to the classical client of the model. Okay, definitely we are going to discuss about the amendment. We will take a 10 or 15 minutes to just focus on the amendment under Companies Act on the private limited companies. So let's start our discussion and our topic for today. So let me just share my presentation to discuss with all of you. So our most important topic for today as a chartered accountant company secretary, amendment in Schedule 3 and director report and auditor report. As we know, Ministry of Corporate Affairs issued a notification on 24th March 2021. They have issued 3 notifications on 24th March 2021. First one, amendment in Schedule 3 of the Companies Act. Second one, Companies Account Rules 2014. Third one, Companies Audit and Auditor Rules 2014. So they have made amendment in the by 3 notifications. They have done lot of new amendment, and the most important, all these amendments are relating to the chartered accountants. All these amendments are going to impact to the chartered accountant, because these amendments which are we are going to discuss today are relating to the financial statement, are relating to the auditor report, are relating to the director's report. So we are going to discuss these amendments today. So these 3 notifications, the purpose behind the amendment in the financial statement disclosure, amendment in the board report, amendment in the auditor report disclosure. So they have passed these 3 notifications on a single day, that is 24th March 2021. Now, whenever their amendment came under the act, the first question came in mind: what is the reason? What is the purpose of this amendment? So the amendment which we are going to discuss of the 24th March 2021, most important reason, most important purpose of this amendment was increase in transparency in the financial statement and auditor report. They have added lot of disclosures which you have to give in your financial statement, which you have to mention in your auditor report, director report. So the purpose of ministry to increase the transparency. As we know, our financial statement, auditor report, director report are the public document. These are uploaded by companies in form AOC form on the website of the Ministry of Corporate Affairs. And whoever want to see these documents, that person just have to go on the MCA website, do the public inspection, and can see the financial statement, audit report, and director report. So as these documents are the public documents, so they have increased the transparency. By increasing transparency, I must say they have increased the responsibility of the auditors also with this transparency. Because practically, legally, it is the responsibility of the management to prepare the financial statement. But as we know, practically, chartered accountant have to support them, have to help them for preparation of the financial statement. So ultimately, the work of the chartered accountant will increase. Ultimately, the responsibility of the chartered accountant will increase along with this amendment. And by these three notifications, they have added numerous additional disclosure in the financial statement notes to accounts. So let's start one by one. So as on 24th March 2021, three notification came. First, company's audit and auditor amendment rule 2021. It is relating to the amendment in the auditor report. Second is relating to the company's account amendment rule 2021. That is relating to the amendment in the director's report. And third one is amendment to Schedule 3 of the Companies Act 2013. That is relating to the amendment in the financial statement of the companies. These are the three amendments. The most important question which asked by the professional to me on the regular basis through my WhatsApp group, through other social media platform, the most important question asked by the professional is, what is the date of implementation of these amendments? What is the when these amendments came into effect, when we have to show the impact of these amendments in our auditor report, in our financial statement? Yes, as someone, Mr. Arun Verma has already asked this question, please discuss the applicability of the notification, whether applies for the financial statement 1st April 2021 or afterward. So this is the most important question which is asked by the professional on the regular basis. What is the date of implementation of this amendment, when this amendment is going to implement? So let's discuss. As per the notification of 24th March 2021, above mentioned amendments shall came into effect from the 1st April 2021, except some point included in the amendment in auditor report that we are going to discuss. So as per 24th March notification, they have specifically mentioned these amendments are going to impact from the first day of April 2021. As you can see, there is a question on your screen. Financial year ended on 31st March 2021. Balance sheet and director report signed on 25th August 2021. Whether company have to give effect of amendment in financial statement director report as per latest notification. Before going to discuss, I would like to know the view of the members. What will you answer? Whether we have to give this impact of this amendment in our financial statement in or director report or not. Please, you can answer in the chat box so that we can see, yes, people are interested to listening this, and let's make it interactive session. As we can see, there are almost 10-12 answers. All are the mixed view. 50% audience is in favor of yes, 50% in favor of no. So this is the most important question. Before going to discussion the amendment, we should know the applicability. But right now, I'm not going to discuss this applicability. This applicability I will discuss later on once I will discuss the provision. Because along with provision, if we will discuss the applicability, it will help us more. So I'm not going to discuss the answer. Let me start with discussion of the first amendment. That is amendment to the Companies Account Amendment Rule 2021. By Companies Account Amendment Rule 2021, Ministry have given two amendments. First amendment is relating to the Rule 3, manner of books of account to be kept in the electronic mode. Second amendment is relating to the Rule 8, that is relating to the increase in disclosures in the director's report. So let's discuss with the first amendment. First amendment is talking about, that is in Rule 3 of the Companies Account Rules, manner of books of account to be kept in electronic mode. As we know, companies can keep their books or accounts in the electronic mode also. As company can keep their books of account in electronic mode, definitely there is a process, there is a compliance which a company have to do, but it is allowed to keep their books of accounts in the electronic mode with effect from the 1st April 2014. So since last 7 years, 8 years, we was allowed to keep our books of accounts in the electronic mode. Now they have added one proviso to this section. Proviso is that, provided that for the financial year commencing on or after 1st day of April 2021, when this notification came on the 24th March 2021, it was mentioned that this amendment is going to effect from the 1st April 2021. But as there was only 7 days to implement this amendment, it was not possible for the corporates as well as the software companies to implement this amendment just in 7 days. That's why Ministry have increased the time of this amendment. This amendment, Rule 3, manners of books of account to be kept in electronic mode, now will be commenced from 1st day of April 2022. Please make note. This is going to be impact. This is going to be implemented from the 1st April 2022. Let me read it again. Financial year commencing on or after 1st day of April 2021. Every company which uses accounting software for maintaining books of account. Now we just discuss accounting software for maintaining of books on accounts. अगर हम companies की बात करें, as on date in India, I must say 99% companies are using the accounting software to maintaining its books of account, whether it is in the form of Tally or whether it is form of the other software. But 99% companies, whether they are working company, whether they are not working company, they are preparing their financial statement through the accounting software. They are maintaining their books of account in the accounting software. There may be maximum 1% companies who are not maintaining their accounting software through. They are not maintaining their books of account through the accounting software. So if they are not, if any company is not maintaining books of account through accounting software, then this proviso is not applicable to them. Now the question arises: if a company prepare their accounts, and there are only 4 or 5 entries throughout the year, so company maintain their accounts in the Excel format. Whether it will be considered through the accounting software, the answer will be no. Just preparation of the financial statement in Excel format doesn't consider as the accounting software. So 99% companies are maintaining through accounting software. So this provision will applicable on the 99% companies in India. Every company which uses accounting software for maintaining its books of account shall use only such accounting software which are having features, following features. So they have mentioned, if company using a software must have the following features. Number 1, recording of audit trail of each and every transaction. Whatever transaction you are doing in your software should record each and every transaction and the audit trail of such transaction. I will discuss after 2 minutes the meaning of word audit trail. Second feature, creating an edit log of each change made in books of account. If you made any change in books of account, this software will create an edit log along with date when such changes has been made, and ensuring that the audit trail cannot be disabled. Now let me start discussion. As on date, almost all the companies are using the accounting software. As on date itself, all accounting software having option of the edit trail. But along with the option of edit trail, they are having option to disable. So everyone has disabled this option and using the accounting software. So ministry has mentioned through this amendment that with effect from 1st April 2022, when this amendment will be came into impact, the software should not have disabled option for the audit trail. Audit trail should be mandatory, should not be disabled. This is a mandatory thing. Now let's discuss what is meaning of the audit trail. Audit trail means step-by-step sequential record. If I will discuss in a general language, as you make an entry in the accounting software, later on, if you amend that entry, if you substitute that entry, if you delete that entry, if you alter that entry, whatever changes you made in that entry, a complete audit trail will be prepared. Like the day on the day on which you have made an entry in the software, it will be recorded this date, this entry. If you will change, then software will record this date and this is the change. If you will delete, software will mention this date, this entry is deleted, this date, this entry is substituted. So this is the audit trail. So software should prepare this audit trail properly. Definitely, it will help to prevent the frauds. It will help to stress-free auditor by the auditors, because auditors will come to know if an entry is made like this, why the management have changed the entry, what is the basis, what are the reason behind this amendment, and easy error correcting. So if any error is made by them by changing in the entry, by deleting, by substituting, we will come to know. So definitely audit trail is a very good thing for the auditors. While doing the audit, auditor can easily understand if any fraud is going on in the company, if anything else is done by the management. So this is the audit trail. So if anyone have any question about the audit trail, please mention in the chat box. First, we will clear this point, then we will move forward. One question is there: books maintained in Excel, which is also one type of software. Maintenance of books is not covered and the software by the ministry. So if you are prepared only in the Excel format, not using any software, then you are not allowed to follow this audit trail provision. So now, if I think no one have a question, let me ask a question. Whether these amendments applicable to every type of company or exemption are given to some class of companies? Whether any exemption is given to anyone under this? Because there may be the OPC, there may be small company, private company, public company, listed company, NBFC, Nidhi, broker, producer company, lot of type of companies are there. Whether ministry have given exemption to any type of company, like small company, like OPC. Anyone will get the exemption under this section. Like someone has mentioned, it is a small company, that it was not applicable to the small company. So the question is that whether OPC or as well as listed, all the companies required to follow this audit trail provision with effect from 1st April 2021. Why ministry have amended the date from 1st April 2021 to 1st April 2022? Because they have issued the notification on 24th March. They just want in 7 days, all the corporate will adopt this. All the corporate will start using this software. So it was not possible, because even as a professional, as a chartered accountant, we have to guide to our client, we have to guide our staff, we have to guide to the corporate that they have to use this software, and this is the purpose of this software. So until unless we will not make them understand, until unless we will not make a choice for we will not make them understand how it will applicable. That's why ministry understood that and then amend the date that this amendment of audit trail will be applicable from the 1st April 2022 instead of the 1st April 2021. So that's why they have changed the date. So now the question, whether the amendment applicable to every company or exemption. So as ministry has not given exemption to any company. No one a single company has exempted by this provision. They said this assumption, this provision will applicable for each and every company. So there is no exemption under this provision to every company. Each and every company have to follow the amendment under this section. Every company have to follow the amendment in the rule under this section. So first amendment in the company's account rules was the using of the audit trail software. Now we are clear with this provision. Still anyone have any query on this provision later on, you can ask in the chat box. Second amendment in rule 8, matter to be included in the board's report. As we know, under Companies Act 2013, directors' report are prepared under section 134. Section 134 subsection 3 is relating to the director's report. So if we have to prepare a director report of a company, we have to follow section 134 that with rule 8, because 134 subsection 3 is giving some disclosures as well as rule 8 is giving some disclosure which a company is required to mention under director's report. So for preparation of the director report, we have to simultaneously read 134 subsection 3 plus rule 8. So they have added two new disclosures in the rule 8. Disclosure number 1, the detail of application made or any proceeding pending under the insolvency bankruptcy code during the year along with their status at the end of financial year. So अगर कंपनी की कोई एप्लीकेशन चल रही है insolvency bankruptcy में or any proceeding is pending in the IBC 2016, then company have to give detail of such proceedings, status of such proceedings in the director's report. Second disclosure, the detail of difference between the amount of valuation done at the time of settlement and valuation done while taking loan from bank or financial institution. It may be happen when the company done the settlement in the IBC, the valuation was different. Then when company is applying for the loan with the banks or financial institution, valuation is different. Then management have to disclose in director report why there is difference between the valuation at the time of one-time settlement and at the time of taking the loan from the banks or financial institution. These are the two new disclosures they have added in the director's report. So अब हमारा जो most important question regarding this amendment, whether above mentioned amendment in director's report required to be covered in director's report prepared for the financial year ending 31st March 2021. So जो director's report में जो भी amendment आया है, जो ये दो disclosures director's report में अभी आए हैं, whether these two disclosures as required to be given under financial director's report prepared for financial year 2021 or not, because we are in the month of April. In next 2-3 months we will start preparation of the director report for the listed company. After that we will start preparation of the director's report for the unlisted company, private companies also. So the most important question which is going to be asked by the management, it is going to be asked by our fellow colleagues, whether this amendment in director report going to impact the director report as on 31st March 2021 or not. As someone has mentioned, yes, there may be different view of all the person, as there are the almost 400 professionals. There is this webinar, so we have to see what is going into our mind, what should be the answer according to us. I'm asking the question. Definitely, I'm going to answer this question. But the purpose of asking this question, so that we can little bit think, yes, what should be the answer of this question? Because we as a professional have to implement them as per their implementation. So now the answer is that Ministry has said the amendment is Companies Accounts Rule 2021 is going to be effect from the 1st April 2021. This amendment is going to be impact from the 1st April 2021. And we are preparing the director's report as on 31st March 2021. Because whatever disclosure we give in director's report, whatever information we mention in the director report, we cover the period from 1st April to 31st March. So everything relating to as the end of 31st March 2021 we mention in our director's report. And this amendment is going to impact from the 1st April 2021. Therefore, the director report to be prepared for 31st March 2021 does not require to mention these disclosures. Until unless Ministry made some other amendment, As per latest amendment, as per latest notification, the amendment in director report is going to be impact from the first 31st March 2022 financial statement. Now the our third question relating to this only, whether the amendment applicable to directors report of every company or exemption are given to some companies. देखो जब भी हम कोई अमेंडमेंट डिस्कस करेंगे तो सबसे पहला क्वेश्चन डेफिनेटली कंपनीज एक्ट में तो यही आएगा कि ये अमेंडमेंट सभी कंपनीज पे एप्लीकेबल हो जाएगी या कुछ कंपनी को एग्जाम किया हुआ है। बिकॉज वी नो आज के दिन मिनिस्ट्री ने बहुत सारे एग्जाम्पशन नोटिफिकेशन इशू किया है। जैसे प्राइवेट कंपनी के लिए नोटिफिकेशन आई थी, एग्जाम्पशन नोटिफिकेशन 5 जून 2015 को, देन 13 जून 2017 को, वो दो नोटिफिकेशन आई थी। उसके बाद भी मिनिस्ट्री टाइम टू टाइम दे आर मेकिंग द अमेंडमेंट एंड गिविंग द exemption to different type of companies. So the question came into mind, डायरेक्टर रिपोर्ट का अमेंडमेंट सभी पे एप्लीकेबल होगा या कुछ कंपनी को एग्जाम का है। अब इस क्वेश्चन का आंसर देने के लिए we have to analyze whether directors report of all the companies are preparing in a similar manner or in a different manner. So let me answer this question. When we in the 2017 ministry have made an amendment, they came with an amendment that is agrees form of directors report for the small companies and OPC. Generally, all the companies except small companies and OPC prepare their director report as per 134 subsection 3 read with rule 8. But the director report of OPC and small company prepare as per rule 8A. उनकी डायरेक्टर रिपोर्ट रूल 8A के अकॉर्डिंग प्रिपेयर होती है। तो वी हैव टू सी कि अमेंडमेंट तो जो आया है वो आया है रूल 8 में। ओपीसी एंड स्मॉल कंपनी की डायरेक्टर रिपोर्ट बनती है रूल 8A के अकॉर्डिंग। सो ओपीसी एंड स्मॉल कंपनी के ऊपर ये वाला डायरेक्टर रिपोर्ट का अमेंडमेंट एप्लीकेबल नहीं होगा। हाँ, someone mentioned you means applicable for financial year ending. Yes sir, the disclosure of this direct amendment related to the director report, we have to give director report which will be prepared for the financial year ending 31st March 2022. Now we are clear with the first amendment. Second amendment, companies audit and auditor amendment rules. ये तो चैप्टर ही हमारा है ऑडिट एंड ऑडिटर्स। जब ये अमेंडमेंट आया था on 24th March 2021, that day it was mentioned that this amendment came into effect from the 1st April 2021. But later on the 1st April 2021, ministry again came with an amendment. Again they have came an amendment and they had mentioned that these rules shall came into effect from the 1st April 2022. This amendment is going to impact from the 1st April 2022. So means the auditor report prepared for the 31st March 2023 is required to give the effect of this auditor report, effect of changes in the auditor report. So for the financial year ended 31st March 2021, we don't have to mention this amendment. For the financial year ended 31st March 2022, you don't have to give this amendment because this amendment is going to impact the auditor report prepared for 31st March 2023. Amendment in Rule 11. Rule 11 is relating to the matter to be included in auditor report. So what they have done, they have omit the clause D and they have added 3 new clauses E, F or G. Clause D was relating to the disclosure on the specified bank note. As we know, specified bank note disclosure ministry have mentioned at the time of the demonetization. That has gone. Now it is not required to mention this disclosure. So for the auditor report prepared for the 31st March 2023, this disclosure is not required to be mentioned. 3 new disclosures has been given, E, F or G. First I will discuss F or G, then I will go on the 3. E, F. F is mentioned whether the dividend declared or paid during the year by the company is in the compliance with section 123 of the Companies Act. Section 123 is relating to the dividend. If company is declaring any dividend, or if company paid any dividend during the year, now auditor have to specifically disclose in the auditor report whether company has complied with section 123 or not. So as I was discussing in starting, that ministry have imposed the more responsibility on the auditor This is the proof of that. They are saying the auditor have to specifically answer this question, specifically have to disclosure on the section 123. Auditor specifically have to mention if section 123 is applicable, followed by the companies or not. G. Auditor have to give a disclosure on the use of the software audit trail. Audit trail का जो software है, which we have discussed just now, it will be applicable from the 1st April 2022. Auditor have to give disclosure on that also. The company has prepared the using the software in a proper manner. Whether company have prepared proper audit trail and everything. This is also the responsibility of auditor. Third amendment in rule E, clause E they have added. Clause E mentioned that whether the management have represented that to the best of its knowledge and belief, other than disclosure notes of account, no fund has been advanced or invested by the company to in or any other person, including foreign entity, with the understanding that whether report in writing or otherwise, that the intermediary shall, whether directly or indirectly, then invest in other person or entity, identify in manner whatsoever on behalf of the company. Let's discuss this with an example. There is a company A. Company A want to give loan to the company C or want to investment in company C. But company A don't directly make the loan or investment. What they do, they give the loan to the company B or invest in the company B. Now they direct the company B to invest in company C. So company B is the intermediary. Company A is the ultimately beneficiary. So this type of transaction, because we know this type of many Benami transactions are there, this type of transaction to companies generally do to avoid the many different type of things. So if company have done any of this type of transaction, the company have invested in somewhere else and that entity investing somewhere else with the instruction of the company, then auditor have to disclose it specifically in their auditor's report. Same in clause B. If company have taken any loan or investment from someone and company is investing it somewhere else with the direction of the person who has given the loan investment to the company, means here company work like as a puppet only. We are receiving the fund, but we are following the instruction of the third party to use that fund. So this type of transaction auditor have to disclose in their auditor's report. So as we have already discussed, the amendment relating to the auditor report, the disclosure relating to the auditor report is required to be mentioned in the audit report to be prepared for 31st March 2022. And auditor report is same for all type of company. So there is no exemption to any type of company for preparation of the auditor's report. Now, if anyone have any question on the amendment to the auditor report, you can ask to me. There are the two questions are there. Let me just take up those questions. Irrespective of the amendment, since these two issues are important, whether the companies are obliged to report in the board report of the financial statement for year ended. See, definitely these two amendments relating to the auditor reports are very important. Our director reports are very important, sir. But ministry have imposed you have to mention from the 31st March 2022. If you want to mention on the 31st March 2021, you can mention because you can do the extra compliances. There is no issue, but you can do, cannot do the non-compliances. So extra compliance you are allowed. If you want to do, you can do the same. Someone mentioned director's report cover event occurring after 31st March till the date. See, director report covers the event from the 1st April to 31st March. But there is a one provision under Companies Act which mentions that if there is any changes after end of financial year till the date of signing the director report, which impacting the business of the company in a big manner, in that case, director have to disclose that in the director report. Otherwise, events occurred after the 31st March is not required to mention in the director report. What is the auditor responsibility in case director report of these two clauses are not reported, sir? Same like other things, these two are the new disclosure, but if you will check the director report of the last year also, it may be happen company have not given the proper disclosure in the director report. The auditor have to report that company has not complied with the compliances of the section 134 of the Companies Act in their audit report. And also the company secretary, whoever is signing the MTT7, that person has to mention in annual return that company has not complied with the provision of the annual return. Section 134. Anyone have any other question on this? So these are the two amendments which we have discussed. So I think there is no question from the members. Let's move to the third amendment. This is the most important amendment. We have to be very focused by discussing this amendment, and we have to give a proper focus on this amendment, because third amendment, that is Schedule 3, financial statement of the company. All the financial statement of the companies are prepared according to the Schedule 3. Whatever disclosures are given under Schedule 3, company have to prepare financial statement by giving all such disclosures. So Ministry have made amendment in the by passing of notification on 24th March 2021. As per 24th March 2021 notification, they have added so many new disclosures in financial statement of the company. As financial statement, already we are giving lot of disclosures, but now they have amended lot of new disclosures under financial statement, which are time consuming, which are more transparent, and which will increase the responsibility of the auditor, because auditor is signing the financial statement along with the directors of the company. First thing, the first important question. Schedule 3 are divided into three parts. Schedule 3 divided into three parts: Division 1, Division 2, Division 3. Division 1 related to the financial statement for a company whose financial statement are required to comply with the Accounting Standard Rules 2006. Division 2, the companies who are required to follow the Ind AS 2015. Division 3 for the NBFCs who are following the Ind AS 2015. As we know, in India, almost 75% of the companies are using the AS, Accounting Standard Rules. Maximum 25% of the companies are using the Ind AS software. Ind AS 2015 are applicable almost on 25% of companies. So, Accounting Standard Rules are covered in Division 1. Ind AS is covered in Division 3. NBFC using the accounting Ind AS is covered under Division 3. So let's discuss one by one the amendment. As we have already discussed, the purpose of this amendment is the more transparency in the financial statement, more disclosures, more time consuming, more reliability of the financial statement by the stakeholder. First amendment. I will again request the members to please raise the query simultaneously, because there are a lot of disclosure which we are going to discuss. It will be better if we will discuss each and every disclosure and the queries relating to those disclosures simultaneously. So first is relating to the general instruction for preparation of the balance sheet. This is the general instruction which is applicable for the all type of balance sheet. Rounding off. Provision of the rounding off of the figure. The provision of the rounding off was just optional till 31st March 2021. Although there was the provision of the round off, of the figures of the financial statement, but till now it was just like an optional figure. It's like an optional provision. But for the purpose of rounding of the figure, appearing in the financial statement for financial year ending 31st March 2022, the total income shall be considered as on basis. 31st March 2000 till 31st March 2021, it was optional, but from 31st March 2022 financial statement, they make it mandatory for the companies to round off in their financial statement. And for the rounding off, they have given the basis. If total income of the company is less than 100 crore rupees, then rounding off will be in the nearest 100, nearest 1000, lakhs, or millions or decimals thereof. And if total income is more than 100 crore or more, then rounding off will be in the nearest lakhs, millions, crores, or decimals thereof. So for the financial year ended 31st March 2022, it will mandatory for the companies to round off it will mandatory for the companies to rounding of the figure of the financial statement. So rounding off is now become mandatory for the financial year 31st March 2022. Although it is not mandatory for the financial year 31st March 2021, but it is advisable to do it amended from the 31st March 2021, because when we prepare the financial statement for the 31st March 2022, we have to given the figure of 31st March 2021 as well as figure of for 31st March 2022. We have to give the figure of this two financial years. So at the time of 2022, you have to prepare the financial statement of 2021 also by mentioning the rounding off. So it is advisable to prepare the financial statement of 31st March 2021 also with the rounding of figures. Otherwise, next year definitely we have to prepare the financial statement in the rounding off. Next, now these are the very important thing. Additional disclosure in notes to accounts. Let me just take up one query of the member. Whether queries to be solved at the end and between you can take. So now we are disclosing the additional disclosure in the notes of balance sheet. Additional disclosure in the notes to balance sheet. This is most important thing. As we know, already we are giving the lots of disclosure in the notes to accounts, like disclosure of the shareholding holder holding more than 5%, trade receivable, trade payables, credit party transaction. Lot of disclosures are there. In that lots of disclosure, they have added lot of more disclosure under Companies Act. First, shareholding of promoter. The notes of share capital in the financial statement shall mention the details of the shareholding of the promoter along with changes, if any, during the financial year. Till now, we are preparing the lot of financial statement, and in the financial statement, we were giving the disclosures. We are giving the disclosure of the shareholders who are holding more than 5% of share capital. Except that we are not giving the name or the details of the person who are holding the shares of the company. We were only giving the shareholder holding more than 5% of share capital. But now the corporates have to give the details of the shareholding of the promoter in this format. Format is that serial number, name of promoter, number of shares held by the promoter, percentage of total share held by the promoter at the end of the year, change of percentage during the year. It may be happen at the starting of the year, promoter is holding 15% share, but later on due to change, they have purchased new shares and the shareholding reached to 30%. Then you have to give how much percent was their change. Whether it was a positive change, it was a negative change, you have to mention in the disclosure to the notes to account of financial statement. So now this is mandatory disclosure for the companies to give detail of the promoter. Further, they have mentioned here management shall give details separately for each class of share. For each class of share, separate detail is required to be mentioned. It may be happen our companies having the equity share capital, preference share, redeemable preference share, cumulative preference share, non-redeemable preference share. So each class of share, you have to give a separate table. So again, I will say, as this is the responsibility of the management to prepare the financial statement, but as an auditor, we have to help them for preparation of the financial statement. So we as an auditor have to help them to prepare these schedules. Now the subsequent important question, as I have taken 2-3 webinars in the last 7-10 days throughout the country, one question came from the professional: what is the meaning of promoter? First, I would like to get answer from all of you, because according to us, what is the meaning of the promoter? Who shall be considered as a promoter under Companies Act? Because this is very important question. Even I can answer this question. Definitely, I will answer this question. But before that, I just want to know what is picture is going in our mind relating to the meaning of the promoter. Who are the promoters of the company? What is the promoter's definition under Companies Act? Anyone can answer this question? So let's discuss about the meaning of the promoter. Under Companies Act 1956, the meaning of promoter was the person who is holding the majority share, the person who has incorporated the company. Generally, there was a concept, promoter will be a person who has incorporated the company, or the person whose name is mentioned under the subscriber of sheet of the memorandum of association. That person shall be considered as a promoter, or that person shall be considered as a promoter. Whether the subscriber of the share company, whether the person who has incorporated the company. But the definition has totally changed under Companies Act 2013, as it is mentioned here. Promoter means a person who has been named as such in the prospectus. Promoter means a person जिसका नेम आपने prospectus में as a promoter लिखा है. But generally private companies और छोटी companies generally prospectus issue नहीं करती है. तो वहां पे क्या है कि prospectus तो issue हुआ नहीं, तो how we will find out कि person is a promoter or not. Prospectus है तो बहुत clear है, whoever is mentioned as a promoter in the prospectus. But if there is no prospectus has been issued by the company, then is defined by the company in the annual report of section 92. As we know, company have to prepare annual return as per section 92. As per section 92, company have to prepare the annual return. In the annual return, since the 7 year, we are mentioning the shareholding of the promoter, the detail of the promoters. We are mentioning since the 7 years. अभी तक तो क्या था? Till now, we were just mentioning. We were not much concerned about the detail of the promoter. We were not that much concerned who has shown as a promoter and who has not shown as a promoter. But now we should be concerned about the detail of the promoter. Now we should be concerned about the thing who is promoter or not, because now we have to prepare a proper schedule of the shareholding of the promoter. So promoter means a person who has mentioned in the annual return. So if you will check the annual return of the company, that is MGD 7 of 31st March 2020, you will come to know who is promoter of the company. Further, you can do one more thing. As till now you have not given so much of focus about the definition of the promoter, but now you want to change the promoter's name. Then when you prepare the annual return for the financial year ended 31st March 2021, make the changes in the annual return accordingly, so that when you will prepare the financial statement of 31st March 2022, at that time you will be aware who is the promoter and how you have to prepare the schedule of the promoter shareholding. Ministry have also mentioned, if you have not mentioned the name in prospectus, if you have not mentioned the name in annual return, in that case, who has control over the affair of the company, directly or indirectly, whether as a shareholder or otherwise, shall be considered as the promoter of the company. So this is a new requirement of the company about the promoter of the company. So as you can see, many person has given the search whose name is mentioned under MOA, who is the subscriber, who is the incorporation, who has done the incorporation. So now someone has mentioned whether all the directors who are managing company can be treated as promoter. Yes, if you will show the name of such directors in the annual return as a promoter, then definitely those directors shall be considered as the promoter. It may be happen. Let me take an example of a private company. In the private company, there are the two shareholders, right? Both the shareholders are the directors of the company, and you have mentioned both of those shareholders as the promoter of the company. But definitely those two persons shall be considered as the promoter of the company. So now we have to take the meaning of the promoter of the company according to this this definition. This was the first new disclosure in the financial statement to be prepared on 31st March 2022. Do we have to give previous year numbers? Definitely, sir. Whenever we are preparing the financial statement, notes to accounts, we have to give the comparative figure of the 31st March 2020-21 as well as 31st March 2022. So definitely we have to give the figures of the previous years also. Next disclosure. Next disclosures is related to the trade payable. Okay, this is also a good question. Thanks to the everyone for asking this so much of good question for the knowledge of everyone. Does promoters need to hold shares in the company? As per Companies Act 2013, there is no such requirement. Even without holding the shares of the company, a person can be considered as a promoter if his name is mentioned as a promoter under financial statement of the annual return of the company. So holding of share is not an important. Next question, do we have to give details of the promoter's holding as well as person holding more than 5%? Yes, sir. Like earlier, you were giving the disclosure of the shareholder holding more than 5% of share capital. That disclosure you have to give, but along with that, a new disclosure you have to give in this format: shareholder name, serial number, promoter's name, number of share, and total percentage of total share and changing during the year. In this format, you have to give the new table also. What are the benefits of the promoter if they don't hold the shares? See, if you will check the definition, who have control over the affairs of the company directly or indirectly, whether as a shareholder, director, or otherwise, it may or may not be happen. A person is not holding the share, but he is having the control over the company. For an example, shares are held by another company and it is a subsidiary company, but they have appointed some director and director is holding complete management. They are looking for day-to-day work. They are having the all authority of taking decisions and they are the owner of the company. So even without the shareholding, there can be promoter under Companies Act 2013. Holding of share is not mandatory to become a promoter. Next disclosure is trade payable as in schedule. Creditors as in schedule. Now company have to require to provide as in schedule for the trade payable due for the periodicity. These include trade payable to MSME, disputed MSME never year. Let me come on the disclosure to proper discussion. For the financial year ending 31st March 2022, company have to give this schedule in the notes to accounts of the financial statement. Particular MSME dues other than MSME dues, disputed dues to the MSME, disputed dues to the other, less than 1 year, 1 year to 2 year, 2 year to 3 year, more than 3 year and total. So all those information company have to give. So now you yourself can see how much work they are increasing on the corporates and the auditors. Now you have to prepare this schedule for this year as well as last year. You have to prepare this schedule for the 31st March 2022. You have to prepare this schedule for the 31st March 2021 also. So now it became mandatory for the companies कि आपको ये schedule देना पड़ेगा. And most important thing, you can see how much will be the transparency. You yourself is saying our creator who are pending less than 1 year, who are pending 1 year to 2 years, who are pending 2 years to 3 years, and who are pending more than 3 years. So as an auditor, if company give you this schedule, you have to ask why you are not making the payment to the vendors, why you are not making payment to the MSME vendor, because this is very important for the auditors. Let me discuss one provision. I remember last time when I have taken a session with the JB Nagar Study Circle, I have discussed on the topic of deposits and the MSME one. So as per the MSME Act 2006, companies have to make payment to the MSME vendor within 6 months, within 45 days from the acceptance of the invoice. If a company fails to make payment to the MSME vendor within 45 days, then company have to pay interest on such pending amount, and auditor have to disclose in their auditor have to disclose company in the financial statement that the amount pending to the MSME vendor more than 45 days. Interest occurred on that, interest paid, contingent liability, everything auditor have to report. Till now, auditor was just mentioning that as per the report of the company, there are no MSME vendor and they are compliant with it. But now when company will prepare this schedule, in this schedule, company will mention the MSME vendor pending less than 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, So means company have already made default to payment to the MSME vendor. So auditor have to report accordingly in their auditor report that company have to default of the MSME vendor, so that much or this much of interest they have to pay. So by this, ministry have increased the transparency in many folds. Third schedule is relating to the trade receivable ethics schedule. Let's, as we discuss about the trade payable ethics schedule, this is the trade receivable ethics schedule. Particular undisputed trade receivables considered goods. Undisputed trade receivables considered doubtful. Dispute trade receivable considered good. Dispute trade receivable considered doubtful. Less than 6 months, 6 months to 1 year, 1 year to 2 year, 2 year to 3 year, more than 3 year. This much of disclosure, this much of amount now as auditor, you have to find out now as auditor. So when you are doing the audit, you have to check properly. Now this data is pending for the period less than 6 months, more than 6 months, 1 year to 2 year, 2 year to 3 year. Because as auditor, you have to mention in auditor report if their company is not making payment to the debtor, what is the reason behind it? Why you are not making the payment? You have to ask this question to the corporate. Why you are not making payment to the vendors? And if you are not making payment, if you are not asking for the payment to the vendors, I have to disclose in the auditor report. So this type of new disclosure they have added. I must say these are not a small disclosures. Lot of information company or auditor have to collect for this. Lot of information you have to analyze for this, and then you will able to prepare this schedule. And in 2022, you have to do the double work, double hard work, because in 2022, financial year ending 31st March 2022, you have to prepare it for the financial year ending 31st March 2022 as well, 31st March 2021. So double efforts you have to do, because in the next years definitely 1 year figure will be already there and 1 year figure you have to prepare. But for the financial year ended 31st March 2022, you have to do the double efforts while preparing these figures. These are the 3 disclosures. 4 disclosures: title deeds of immovable property not held in name of the company. The company shall provide detail of the immovable property whose title deeds are not held in the name of company, except other than properties where company's lessee and lease agreement is executed. It may be happen many times कि company are using some immovable properties for their business purpose, for different purpose, but whose title deeds are not in the name of company. Maybe that property belong to the director and company is using that property. Maybe that property has purchased by the company, but title deed has not been transferred to the name of the company. You must have seen many cases. Company have purchased the property, but they are using the property as a power of attorney holder. They are not transferring the name just to save some percentage of the stamp duty. So the ministry want the detail of all such things. So they have imposed this duty on the management and the auditors that they have to mention detail of the all immovable property which is used by the company, but which are not in the name of the company, except which company has taken on the rent. Someone has mentioned the question. Under trade creditor schedule of the MSME, we need to reflect amount due to other who are not MSME also, whether company does not have MSME details. Yes, definitely. If, let me just come back on the schedule. Schedule is like this: due to the MSME, due to the others, due to the disputed MSME, disputed others. So if you don't have any payment pending to the MSME vendor, you will mention this. But you have other payment pending, you will mention here others. Second question: what is the meaning of dispute? Whether dispute in court of law or arbitration or simple dispute about quality and quantity. If you have raised the dispute through any written communication and you are having the proof of that dispute, then that will be considered as a disputed transaction as per the MSME Act. Fifth disclosure: disclosures of the revaluation of the asset. Where the company has revalued its property, plant, equipment, PPE, the company shall disclose as to whether the revaluation is based on the valuation by the registered valuer. There is a one more important concept under Companies Act. One more important concept is that under Companies Act, if you want to take the valuation report, as on date, under Companies Act, valuation report can be taken only by the registered valuer. Other than registered valuer, Companies Act you cannot use any valuation. Means a valuation report signed by the chartered accountant having more than 10-year experience is not valid under Companies Act. A valuation report signed by the merchant banker is not valid under Companies Act. But under Companies Act, valuation report is valid only given by a registered valuer. So if company have done the revaluation of the property, revaluation of the plant and equipment, and under this revaluation, company have mentioned in the financial statement also, but company has not. Company have done the valuation in the financial statement, but company has not taken the registered value report, then it is mandatory for them to take the report, and they have to give a disclosure in the balance sheet that this revaluation is done on the basis of the valuation report taken by the registered valuer only. So this is the fifth disclosure is required to given by the companies. अभी जो ऊपर disclosures थे, mutual disagreement will also consider as a dispute. See, if mutually you have this, raise a complaint to your vendor, goods are not up to the quality and quantity, and vendor accept that, then definitely whether what he will provide you the up to mark goods, or second he will take back the goods and cancel the invoice. So accordingly you have to see a mutual disagreement whether invoice is cancelled or whether services is properly provided. Please reconfirm the disclosure is applicable for 31st March 2022. Yes, these disclosures of the financial statement which we are discussing is applicable for the financial year ended 31st March 2022. MSME registration share in a month of January 2021 and done business between April 2020 to December 2020, how need to be reported? See, MSME, the amount produced from the MSME, we have to mention only those amounts which are related to the MSME registered vendor. Till December 20, that person was not registered under MSME. So till December, whatever invoice raised by that person was not under the category of the MSME. So all such invoices we will consider under other than MSME. And if any invoice is raised after January 2021 when he registered under MSME, then those disclosure will be considered as the MSME disclosures. Next, sixth disclosure. Disclosure on loan advance to director, KMP and related parties. Disclosure shall be made where loan or advance in the nature of loan or are granted to the promoters, directors, KMP, related parties either separately or jointly with the other person that are. यहाँ पे एक बहुत important question है. First question, which as a professional we has to ask ourselves. Ministry mentioned कि companies को अपने balance sheet में disclose करना है. Companies have to disclose in their financial statement. Company have to disclose in their financial statement that whether company have given any loan to director, loan and advance to directors, KMPs or related party. This thing companies itself have to mention in their financial statement. Now the first question arises because you as an auditor have to give the auditor report, Caro report also. There you are giving the disclosure under section 185. Section 185 of the Companies Act is relating to the loan to directors and the entity in which director are interested. Under Companies Act, companies are not allowed to give loan to the directors as per section 185 and loan to the entities in which director are interested under section 185. So under section 185 companies directors को लोन दे ही नहीं सकती. तो अगर आप यहाँ पे information mention करते हो, if you mention information here about the loan guarantee advance to the director, first you have to check whether company has complied with section 185 or not, because there is only one situation when a private company gives loan to the director is when company falls under exemptions to the section 185. If company fulfill all the exemption condition of the section 185, in that case, company can give loan to director. Other case, company cannot give loan to director or the entities in which director are interested, those are related parties. So ministry has played a very beautifully here. They have drafted this provision. Now the company itself has to disclose whether they have given the loan to the director. If yes, if you have mentioned here, you have to see whether 185 is complied or not. 99% cases 185 not allowed to give loan to the director. So you have to give this disclosure in the financial statement in this format: type of borrower, promoter, directors, KMPs, and related party, amount of loan advance in nature of loan outstanding, percentage of total loan and advance in nature of loans. Promoters का कितना लोन है, टोटल लोन का कितना परसेंटेज है, डायरेक्टर्स को कितना लोन दिया है, टोटल लोन का कितना परसेंटेज है, you have to mention here. There are the 2-3 queries which I would love to take right now. How payment made to MSME vendor will be considered on FIFO basis, or client can say MSME payment made first. First thing, don't go what clients say. Please make, as we know, MSME payment is mandatory to make it 45 days. Other payment, there is no such condition. So if you have made payment in your question to the bills relating to the MSME or not, so first try to clear the invoices which are related to the MSME in your software, in your accounting books also. Next question, similar to the dispute with vendor, in case of dispute with customer, is it necessary to have a legal proceeding for recovery to be disclosed or disputed, or a simple dispute raised by customer for not paying the company would lead to amount recoverable and disclosed as disputed? See sir, for the MSME, definitely MSME Act is specifically given the definition of the dispute. But other thing, nowhere it is mentioned the definition of the dispute. So even it is a normal dispute, but it is in a return, then definitely you have to show the amount with the disputed also. This is my observation. Whether deposit given to a director against office premises is considered to a loan. If you have taken office premises on rent from the director and you have given advance against such office premises, you have to check, as the auditor, you have to check some things. Number one, whether you have to given the advance as per the normal norms of that area. What if anyone else takes such property on the loan, or the other person also given has the other person also has given same amount of advance which you have given. So if it's the same amount, if it is the okay amount, then it will be considered. That it will be considered as a advance. But if you have given something else, something more amount than the local norm, then definitely it can be considered as a loan. Whether salary advance covered in the table of loan and advances. If you are giving salary advance to the director and you are giving salary advance to the other employees also, then it is okay. If your company having a policy to give advance of salary to the director and employee, it is okay. But if you don't have any policy and you are giving advance only to director but not to the other employees, then it may be considered as a loan under section 185. Next disclosure number 7 is relating to the details of Benami property held. In case any proceeding has been initiated or pending against the company under Benami Transaction Prohibition Act 1988, the disclosure shall be provided in the financial statement. The company shall provide detail of the property, including the year of acquisition, amount thereof, beneficial, many details are given. So now, till now, if as a normal person, if as a public, if as a stakeholder, I am going through the financial statement of the company, I will not come to know whether company having any Benami transaction, whether company having any case relating to the Benami transaction, any proceeding initiated against the company in the Benami transaction. But after giving this disclosure in the financial statement, after 31st March 2022, if anyone will check the financial statement of the company, he can immediately come to know whether any Benami proceedings are going against companies or not. If going against the company, which are the properties, which are the asset for which this transaction are going on. Disclosure number 7, details of borrowing. Where the company has borrowing from the bank or financial institution. This is also very important amendment, which is going to impact to all the auditors also. Where the company has borrowing from banks or financial institutions on the basis of the security of the current asset, it shall disclose the following with a quarterly return or statement of current asset filed by the company with the banks or financial are in agreement with the books of account. If not, summary of reconciliation and reason of material discrepancy, if any, to be adequately disclosed. Let me discuss this point. As we know, many companies take the loans from the banks or financial institution, and as a security, they give their current asset, their stock, their current asset as a security. In that case, as per the RBI requirement, banks or financial institution obtain a certificate from the company, obtain a statement or written from the company that on the quarterly basis about the detail of the current asset at the end of quarter. So every year, every quarter, at the end of every quarter, company submit a statement of the stock, statement of the current asset with the bank or financial institution. Practically, company was not making this statement from the books or account. They were just preparing it and giving it to the bank. And at the end of the year, they were just preparing a complete statement according to the requirement, according to the security, and giving to the bank. But now, ministry have imposed this responsibility on the management and the auditor. They have to check quarterly statement which is submitted with the bank was prepared from the books of accounts or not. Auditor have to now match that statement with the books of account, that at the end of the quarter, whether the figures mentioned in the statement or written and the figures mentioned in the books of accounts are the same or not. Earlier we were checking only at the end of the year, but no. Now auditor also have to check the figures of the current assets at the end of the every quarter also. They have to check the statement given to the bank and the amount mentioned in the books of account at the end of the quarter should be same. If there will be any discrepancy at the end of the year, if at the end, at the time of reconciliation of the current asset, how reconciliation will do? Just check all those 4 certificates, reconcile on the basis of that. So at the time of reconciliation, if the figure came from the certificate and figure mentioned under the books of account are different, then you have to give the reason for such discrepancies in the statement of account. So earlier, just stock was just checking at the end of the year, but now the stocks are going to be checked every quarter also to follow this provision. Although these provisions are applicable on the balance sheet of the financial year ended 31st March 2022, but from this quarter only, you have to check the current asset statement so that end of the year you can give the proper disclosures. Now let me just take up some question till how to check whether company has any benami property if the company does not disclose. See, first thing, practically you cannot check without a disclosure of the company. So if company don't disclose the same, and whatever properties are there, you are having all the details, you can take a manager representation letter. Accordingly, you have to give your auditor report. Stock is valued only at the end of the end. How the same can be verified quarterly basis? I agree. Stock is valued, sir, at the end of the year. But as you know, you all are the chartered accountant. On the quarterly basis, companies are submitting the statement, as it mentioned here. Companies are submitting the quarterly return or statement of the current asset with the banks or financial institution. Definitely, all the companies which have taken the loan from the bank or financial institution, they are submitting this with the banks. Till now, as a company, as auditor, stocks was valued at the end of the year, but they have changed the scenario, sir. Now you have to value it at the end of every quarter, so that at the end of the year there will be no reconciliation error, there will be no material discrepancy. Because if there will be error in the reconciliation or discrepancy, then you have to give the proper reason why that is like so. Next question, in case of MSME vendor who submit bill after 45 days of service provided or goods supplied, even after reminding, how to deal with payment compliance bill is not in hand of payment or service or good received? It practically happens sometimes, more practically on corona situation. Sir, as per the MSME Act, you have to count 45 days from the date of acceptance of the invoices. So if you have not received the invoice, the day on which you will receive the invoice, that date you will consider as the date first day, and accordingly 45 days you have to calculate. So these are the 8 disclosures which we have discussed. Only if I will focus on these 8 disclosures, lot of responsibilities of the auditor has been increased. Lot of working hard work, lot of efforts of the auditor has been increased, because ये सब इंफॉर्मेशन बनाने के लिए बहुत एफर्ट्स करने पड़ेंगे. लाइक अब क्वार्टरली बेसिस पे अगर आपको स्टॉक वेरीफाई करना है, you have to do lot of effort. Like someone has also mentioned one more query, where the stock statement is submitted with the estimate figure, there is no basis on how the amount arrived, how to make a reconciliation. Yes, that's the reason, sir, they are asking this information, because till now stock statement submitted on the quarterly basis was submitting on the estimate figure, but the ministry don't want the estimate figure, they want the actual figure on the basis of the proper audit. That's why they have given this disclosure here. This is the actual reason. They don't want the estimated figure, they want the actual figure, as you can read here, in agreement with the books of account. They want the actual figures from the books of account. So practically, definitely it will increase the efforts of the auditor. It will impose the responsibility of the auditor that every quarter they have to do this books of accounts audit to prepare the stock statement, so that at the time of end of the year in the reconciliation there will be no discrepancy. Next, disclosure number 9, willful defaulter. Where a company is declared willful defaulter by any bank or financial institution or other lender, company have to give following details. Date of the declaration of the willful defaulter, details of the default. Willful defaulter कौन होता है? Who shall be considered as a willful defaulter? Willful defaulter means the person or an issuer who or which is categorized as a willful defaulter by any bank or financial institution or a consortium thereof, in accordance with the guidelines of the willful defaulter issued by the Reserve Bank of India. So, if your company has been declared as a willful defaulter any bank or financial institution, then you have to give detail of the willful defaulter and also your financial statement. As someone has mentioned, I suggest that the authority initiating proceeding against the company under Benami Act should be required to intimate auditor of that company about such commencement. Definitely, sir, we as a professional, you through your ICAI Act and I through ICSI can give suggestion to the ministry. If a company issue any notice under Benami transaction to the company, they should give information about the same to the auditor also. Next, this is also very important disclosure, relationship with stock of company. As we know, in last 6 years, company have ministry have stock of almost 6 lakh companies in India. Due to non-compliances, due to self-application of the companies, due to other reasons, almost 6 lakh companies has been struck off by the ministry. Now, with this struck off companies, company may have many type of relation, like company A holds the share of company B. Company B struck off by the ministry. Now, where the company A will show its investment, and vice versa situation, company A holds share in company B, but company A struck off. Now, to whom company B show as a shareholder? These type of many difficulties was faced by the companies. This is only the example of share. There will be the example of payable, receivables. So, but the ministry don't have any information about such transactions. So now ministry mentioned, where the company has any transaction with company stock of under section 248 of the Companies Act 2013 or section 560 of the Companies Act 1956, the company shall disclose the following details in this format: name of stock of company, nature of transaction with stock of company, like investment in security of stock of company, receivables from stock of company, payables to stock of company, share held by stock of company, other outstanding balance to be specified to stock of company, balance outstanding and relationship with the stock of company if any to be disclosed. So now these disclosures are also required to given by the company in relation to the stock of company. Till now we were not giving any information about the stock of company, but now we have to give all this information about the stock of company. Disclosure number 9. Registration of the charge satisfied with the registrar of company. When any charge created, modified or satisfied yet to be registered with the registrar of company beyond the statutory period, details and reason are before thereof shall be disclosed. Now let's discuss the provision of charge creation. What is the maximum period for creation of charge with the registrar of company? Within maximum within how many days company have to create charge with the registrar of company? As per Companies Act, charge creation or satisfaction form, charge creation or modification form should be filed with the registrar of company within 30 days of end of financial year, within 30 days of such transaction. If company fails to file form for creation of satisfaction or creation or modification of charge within 30 days, company can file form in next 30 days with additional fees. If company fails to file in next 30 days, then company can file such form in next 60 days with ad valorem fee. So 30 plus 60, maximum 120 days. So a company has maximum 120 days to create a charge. If company fails to create a charge within 120 days, practically, legally, there is no provision under Companies Act which allow the company to create charge. Even no authority has power to create the charge after 120 days, whether through ROC, RD, NCLT, High Court, no one has the authority. 120 days close, you cannot file the creation or modification of charge. For the satisfaction of charge, you have to file within 30 days. If you don't file within 30 days, you can file in 300 days. If you don't file in 300 days, you can go for the condonation and file this. So now companies itself have to mention in their financial statement whether company fails to create any charge or satisfaction within due date. Why this provision is here? Because as per Companies Act 2013, company have to create charge if company have taken loan, guarantee on any investment of the any security of the company. So when company ने कोई car, if company have taken a vehicle through loan on the hypothecation, so legally company have to create charge for the such transaction also. But we have practically seen many times company have not created the charge for the hypothecation of the vehicle. So this type of default now company have to mention in balance sheet, and this type of default if company don't mention the balance sheet, auditor have to qualify their report by mentioning that company has not complied with the Schedule 3. Now some questions are there. Are we required to find out which companies are stuck off? So as an auditor, we will have the complete detail of the transaction of the company, with whom company have done the transaction. With all the companies, you can check their status as a strike off or not from the website of the Ministry of Corporate Affairs. Sir, what happened if company has no loan pending from bank, but neither company has any record closure of the loan, nor the bank has any record of the loan? See, if company don't have any loan of document closure of the loan, company have to follow with the bank. Company have to approach the bank. Company have to show them that this loan we have taken from your bank, and on this date we have made the payment. Definitely company may have the bank statement, company may have the financial statement when they have made payment to their loan. So company have to show those documents, approach the bank, and accordingly company can ask them to provide them NOC, and on the basis of that NOC you can file the satisfaction of charge. See, there may be change in the management, there may be change in the management of the banks also. But definitely the document relating to the taken loan, the document relating to the proof of payments through the bank statement, whatever should be there with the company. So on the basis of that, you have to approach and you have to get it done. Charges are applicable only on the immovable property or movable property as well, on hypothecation of such security. Charge is applicable on all the security provided by the company, whether it is a movable property, whether it is a immovable property. There is no bifurcation on the movable property and immovable property by the Section 77. Section 77 states that if a company have taken any loan and given security, any assets of the company, they have mentioned any assets. So any assets include as immovable and movable. So hypothecation of vehicle is also mandatorily required to create the charge. Next question, creation of the charge for vehicle loan. Many companies don't create charge, whether to be reported by auditor. Definitely auditor have to report. This is a non-compliance of section 77. And now this will be required to mention by the management in the financial statement. According to the auditor also have to mention in the auditor report. Next question, whether charge is created for the pledge of shares of loan take again, share facility from banks and also FD and OD limit. See, if company have invested in another company and taken the share of that company, so these shares are now assets of the company. So if company pledge those shares and take the loan, definitely company have to pay a charge. Same like this, FD is the asset of the company. If company giving FD as a charge, a security company have to create the charge on the same. Disclosure number 12, compliance with number of layer of companies. Where the company has not complied with number of layer, as we know, as per section 186 of the Companies Act, as per section 186 of the Companies Act, a company cannot invest in more than 2 layers of the subsidiary company. Company cannot invest more than 2 layers of the subsidiary company. If company invests in more than 2 layers of the subsidiary company, then it is non-compliance of the company. Then now the company have to give the name, sin of company beyond the specified layer, relationship, extent of holding of company in such company shall be disclosed in the financial statement. This is also a very important thing, which is require lot of efforts from the auditor, lot of hard work from the management and auditor. The amendment requires the companies to cover the following ratio: current ratio, debt equity ratio, debt service coverage ratio, return equity ratio, net profit ratio, return capital. Now company have to give these 11 ratio every year in their financial statement disclosure. For the financial year ending 31st March 2022, you have to give disclosure for the financial year ending 31st March 2022, as well as disclosure for the financial year ending 31st March 2021. So definitely this year you have to do double effort. Ratio for the 31st March 2022, also 31st March 2021. See, you can see they ask the 11 ratios to be required to be not given by the company in their financial statement. It will take a lot of time of the auditors. It will take a lot of time of the management to calculate these 11 ratio and to give these 11 ratio in their financial statement. And it's nothing like you mentioned the ratio is that. Ratio is 1 ratio 1, ratio is 2 ratio 2. No, it's nothing like that. You have to, company have explained the item included in the numerator and denominator for computing the above ratio. Means you have to give the complete calculation of the ratio also in your financial statement, and explanation shall be provided by for any change in ratio more than 25%. Last year your ratio was 10. This year ratio is 13. That is more than 25%. So you have to explain, you have to give the reason why there is change more than 25% in ratio. So this is also a very time consuming task. It is also a very it is also a task which will take a lot of efforts of the chartered accountants as well as the company, because as a chartered accountant you have to guide, you have to support to the company. And if company once prepare this, you have to check everything, you have to audit everything. So the task of the professional as well as company has been increased in the manifold. Ratio calculation is quite simple, but 11 ratios along with the, if there is any change in more than 20%, so we have to give everything earlier, which was not required to give in the financial statement. Fourth, 14th number disclosure, details in respect of utilization of borrowed fund and share premium. Company have to give the details. If company have taken a loan and company is having the share premium account, they have to give details where they have used the borrowed fund, whether they have used the share premium account, means whether they have used the borrowed fund on the purpose they have taken. Compliance with approved scheme of arrangement. If there is a compromise and arrangement is going on in the company like merger takeover, So accordingly, the scheme of the merger, scheme of the arrangement, whatever is impact on the financial statement, all such impact company have to show in their financial statement. These were the disclosures relating to the financial balance sheet. Now let's discuss the disclosure required to given in the profit and loss account. प्रॉफिट एंड लॉस अकाउंट में हमें डिस्क्लोजर देना है अनडिस्क्लोज्ड इनकम, रिकंसिलिएशन ऑफ इनकम टैक्स एंड कंपनीज एक्ट. The company shall give detail of any transaction not recorded in the books of account that has been surrendered or disclosed at the income tax during the tax assessment. Unless there is immunity for disclosure, and scheme also shall state whether the previously unrecorded income relating to asset have been properly recorded. It may be happened that company have not recorded in their books of account the income which they have surrendered to the income tax authority at the time of assessment and date. So company have to give a disclosure on the same, whether they have disclosed or not. If not disclosed, then what shall they have to disclose? Second disclosure, where the company covered under section 135 of the Companies Act. If your company fall under section 135 of the Companies Act, that is relating to the corporate social responsibility, the following shall be disclosed with regard to CSR activity. Company have to show in the financial statement in the profit and loss account disclosure amount of the expenditure accrued, amount required to be spent, expenditure done, amount shortfall, total previous shortfall, reason of shortfall, nature of shortfall, purpose they have transacted, many things they have to mention in the financial statement only. So we can see the most important thing you must have noticed कि इन सभी amendments से मिनिस्ट्री ने ट्रांसपेरेंसी बहुत कर दी है. Now it will be very much transparent for the stakeholder, for the public. If they will check the balance sheet of the company, they will come to know many details on the face. Detail of the cryptocurrency, where the company has traded or advanced invested in cryptocurrency or virtual currency during the year, the following shall be disclosed. Profit and loss transaction involved in the cryptocurrency, amount of currency held in reporting date, deposit and advance for any person for the purpose of trade and cryptocurrency. See, these are the some amendment made by the Ministry under Companies Act 2013 by issue notification on the 1st April 2014. So 24th March 2021, company have issued all this notification and made the amendment under the Companies Act. So now there is a question from the members. Excess CSR expenditure incurred in 2019-20 can be adjusted against the obligation of 2021. I will just take 5 minutes more on the CSR point, then I will take up the more queries. There was provision under section 185 or 135 of the Companies Act. The provision is relating to that. Company have to spend 2% of the average net profit of the previous 3 financial year on the CSR. If company spend less amount on the CSR, company have to give the detailed reason of the same in the director report. That was the proper compliance. But what if company spend on the CSR more than the 2%? Practical example, company have to spend 50 lakh, but company spend 1 crore. Whether company can get the benefit of the excess amount in the next years? The provision was completely denying the same. But recently, after the latest amendment under Companies Act, Ministry mentioned that if a company spends CSR excess requirement 2%, such excess amount may be set up against the requirement of the CSR spending under section 135 subsection 5 up to immediate 3 financial year. So अब provision क्या हो गया है? ये जो amendments आए थे, ये amendment आए हैं 22nd January 2021. अब क्या है कि अगर आपने 2020-21 में एक्सेस अमाउंट स्पेंड किया है सीएसआर में, तो आप उस एक्सेस अमाउंट को नेक्स्ट 3 इयर्स तक सेट ऑफ कर सकते हैं. यू जस्ट हैव टू पास अ बोर्ड रेजोल्यूशन. बट अभी जो यहाँ पे सर का क्वेश्चन था कि कंपनीज ने 1920 में एक्सेस अमाउंट स्पेंड की थी, तो क्या 2021 में बेनिफिट ले सकते हैं? द आंसर विल बी नो. अगर 2021 में एक्सेस स्पेंड किया है तो अगले 3 साल में बेनिफिट ले सकते हैं, बट प्रीवियस ईयर का बेनिफिट आज की डेट में नहीं ले सकते. अगर हम सीएसआर की ही बात करें तो बस 5 मिनट और लेता हूं मैं सीएसआर पे. I will share this PPT with the JB Nagar study circle, and if you still this PPT is also published on my website or my blog also, so you can visit that also for the latest amendment and PPTs. Let me just take 5 minutes. Ministry have made very good amendment in the CSR. Most important for this period, CSR spending made mandatory from the voluntary. Earlier क्या था, CSR पे spend करना voluntary था. Earlier क्या था कि कंपनी अगर CSR पे spend नहीं करती है तो कोई इशू नहीं था, उन्हें सिर्फ डायरेक्टर रिपोर्ट में डिस्क्लोजर देना पड़ता था, आपने क्यों नहीं किया और कंप्लायंस हो जाता था. But 22nd January 2021 the scenario has been changed. With effect from 22nd January 2021 it is mandatory for companies to spend on the CSR. अब क्या हो गया है, अब अनस्पेंड अमाउंट का ट्रीटमेंट डिस्कस करते हैं. कंपनी को करना था 50 लाख स्पेंड करना था CSR पे इन 2020-21. कंपनी ने 20 लाख स्पेंड किया और एक ऐसे प्रोजेक्ट पे स्पेंड किया जो लॉन्ग टर्म प्रोजेक्ट है. इसलिए मिनिस्ट्री एक नया टर्म लेके आई है, ऑनगोइंग प्रोजेक्ट. ऑनगोइंग प्रोजेक्ट मींस अ प्रोजेक्ट व्हिच विल बी एंड मैक्सिमम अप टू नेक्स्ट 3 फाइनेंशियल ईयर. फॉर एन एग्जांपल, मैंने 2020-21 में एक नया स्कूल बनाना शुरू किया. अब इट्स नॉट पॉसिबल कि स्कूल की बिल्डिंग रातों रात बन जाएगी, विद इन 2 days क्रिएट हो जाएगी. इट मे टेक टाइम, a year or couple of years. So I have to spend for preparation for creation of that school up to 50 lakh. 2020-21 I have spent it 20 lakh, but the remaining 30 lakh I have to spend in the next year. In that case, ministry has made the amendment that whatever amount you have spent it till 31st March, the remaining amount of the ongoing project you have to transfer a separate bank account in the scheduled bank in unspent corporate social responsibility account within 30 days of end of year, like financial year end on 31st March 2021. We have spent it 20 lakh, 30 lakh is pending for the ongoing project. Project is going on. Then till 30th April, company have to open a schedule in the scheduled bank, unspent corporate social responsibility account, and have to transfer the amount in this account. After transferring the amount in this account, company have to use this amount in next 3 years on that project. First treatment. If company fails to spend such amount in next 3 financial year also, then ministry said, once the 3rd financial year end, within 30 days of end of financial year, transfer whole amount to the government. Whole amount to the government in the funds mentioned under Schedule 7. This is the second treatment. First treatment, ongoing project is going on. Financial year will end in next 30 days. Transfer the amount in a separate account. Use in next 3 years. If you not use in next 3 years, then within 30 days of end of 3 years, transfer to the government. And then if it is not related to the ongoing project. Now if I will say I have to spend 1 crore as per 2%. I spend 20-30 lakh. But I don't have any ongoing project. Then ministry said this is a very good. Once the financial year end, in next 6 months from the end of financial year, transfer whole unspent amount to the ministry in the schedule funds mentioned under Schedule 7. तो 31 मार्च 2021 तक अगर कंपनीज को 50 लाख स्पेंड करना था, 20 लाख स्पेंड किया, कोई ऑनगोइंग प्रोजेक्ट नहीं है, तो आप उस अमाउंट को अपने पास नहीं रख सकते हैं. In next 6 months. Up to 30th September 2021, you have to transfer whole amount to the government in the funds mentioned under Schedule 7. Schedule 7 में कौन से funds mentioned लिखे हैं? Clean Ganga Fund, Prime Minister National Relief Fund, and Prime Minister Citizen Assistance Relief Fund. These are the 3 funds where you can transfer the amount. Now let me take up the queries of the members. Where the tax authority have started scrutiny high value transaction or restructuring scheme under by the company, and tax demand also raised, whether disclosure need to be made even the company contesting the same. So I think if company is contesting, as per the language of the disclosure, they don't have to mention the same. Next point, in 3 years we have divided equally or can adjust next year only. No, you don't have to divide equally. In next 3 years, anytime you can spend according to the requirement of that ongoing project. Can CSR be made to purpose of the trust having similar object within company CSR policy? Okay, इस point के लिए मैं एक point और discuss करता हूँ. The last point. how to implement the CSR. As per CSR activity can be undertaken by the company itself. First thing, company itself can do the CSR activity. Like directly I'm giving money to a school, directly I'm giving money to a society, trust, Section 8 company, or directly I'm distributing the goods to the people. But if I am not doing directly, I can do it through the agencies. Agency like Section 8 company, registered public trust, registered society, and Section 8 public trust society established by government, central government, established by parliament or state legislature. But now I have to see some condition after this amendment. If I'm going to spend amount to a trust, that trust should be registered public trust. Means that trust should be registered with the registrar of trust. That trust, that society, that Section 8 company should have registration under Section 12A and 80G of the Income Tax Act. It is mandatory. Third, that trust, that society, that Section 8 company having a track record of 3 years for the similar activity undertaking. Fourth, if that trust society is Section 8 company taking the CSR contribution after 1st April 2021, before taking contribution, they have to file e-form CSR1 with the registrar of company, and registrar of company will issue a unique registration number. These 4 conditions a trust society and Section 8 company have to fulfill. But if company itself incorporate a new Section 8 company, itself incorporate a new trust or society, then the criteria of 3 years is not required to follow. Can CSR be made to purpose of the trust having silver of that? So I have cleared this question. What will happen to shortfall in CSR expenditure up to 1920? Whether company need to spend? If there was a shortfall of CSR expenditure till 1920, there is no issue. You have already given the disclosure in the financial statement. That is okay. You don't have to spend it now. Please browse as the PPT of the amendment in CSR rule. Definitely all these PPTs of my are already published on my blog that I have already mentioned. You can note down that.
Okay.
If you have any other queries of the members, you can take up that.
So there were 3 queries which I had shared with you, which we received yesterday.
Yes, sir.
Let me just read for you.
Someone has asked me, listed company schedule 3 amendment applicable to quarterly audit. So, for the quarterly audit, we don't prepare the financial statement as per schedule 3. So therefore, the amendment will also not applicable to them because we are not preparing schedule of schedule 3. If we will prepare in the format of schedule 3, definitely we will say it is applicable.
The one query was there from CA Rajendra Modi. If
Yes.
any form missed to be mentioned in CFSS, can it be revised?
So practically there is no way out to revise the CFSS form. Ministry have said you can mention maximum 20 SRN in the CFSS form. If you have to mention more than 20 SRN, then you can go for the one more form filing. Otherwise, it is not allowed. But if you are able to file one more form, file that form. I will suggest. So later on, let's see what action ministry will take up for those forms.
Okay. The other query was from Syamdhar Pal. Whether a company can give its property for mortgage to another company in which there is a common director.
Yes, sir, they can give. Definitely, it will consider as a related party transaction. But related party transactions are also allowed in the Act. It's just you have to follow the process of Section 188 for that.
Okay. The next one was from Mr. Ravi Vansal. Clarity on views on term management services under Section 144.
So if I will go through the services mentioned under 144, 1 second. Let me just open Section 144. See, the Section 144 is there on the screen. An auditor appointed under the Act shall provide the companies only such other services as are approved by the board of directors of the audit committee as the case may be, but which shall not include any of the services. The auditor cannot provide the account and bookkeeping services to that company, cannot provide internal audit services, designing and implementation of the financial information system, actuarial services, investment advisory, investment banking, rendering of outsourced फाइनेंशियल सर्विसेज एंड मैनेजमेंट सर्विसेज। अब मैनेजमेंट सर्विसेज में जनरली मिनिस्ट्री ने कहीं डिफाइन नहीं किया है, बट आई थिंक the Institute of Companies, Chartered Accountants have defined that management services in their guidance note earlier in 2015. As per my remember at that time, they have mentioned that the management services are services relating to help in preparation of the financial statement and services which are required by the ministry company corporates to manage their financial statement, preparation of the financial statement. These type of services they have mentioned. So definitely we have to refer the guidance note of the ICASI, sometime issued in the 2015 for the detailed analysis of this. Because ministry never explained this. Even in the last 7 years, many amendment has came under the act, but never ever ministry have explained this thing.
Okay. And this last question which we had received yesterday by Mr. Abhay Nerulkar, if final dividend is proposed by the listed company, is it required to be disclosed in the board meeting when results are announced before 30th May, or can be done later when board approves the board report or any other date?
Final dividend is declared in the AGM only. So anytime before AGM, when a company hold a board meeting for approval of the board report, and at that time also company can disclose, pass the resolution for the final dividend. And one question is there in the chat box: in case loan against share facility, number of share pledge and share pledge keep changing. It is normal business of in case of stock broker. How to create charge? It is normal day-to-day practice. Even loan utilized amount may change. Ma'am, definitely I agree with your question. On the regular basis they are changing, but as a law, shares are also the asset of the company. Legally, it is mandatory for them also to create the charge and modify the charge. Even it is on the regular basis you have to do the same. Next, if an MSME has agreed for trade credit 90 days, in such situation, what will be the auditor's responsibility? See, as it is very specifically mentioned under MSME Act, that company have to make payment to the MSME vendor within 45 days. Even if company have any agreement with the MSME vendor for a period more than 45 days, that agreement shall be considered as invalid after 45 days. So you don't have any choice. You are doing agreement with the MSME vendor according to your needs. No, it is not allowed. If you are going to enter into transaction with the MSME vendor, you have to make payment in 45 days. Otherwise, you have to pay the interest. You don't have any choice here to enter into agreement. Agreement shall be considered invalid as after 45 days. It is specifically mentioned under MSME Act.